Welcome to beautiful regional Victoria. We are in the picturesque city of Wodonga, home to the winding Murray River, endless activities, incredible cuisine and local produce. So much to do, so much to see, and this bustling, vibrant regional city is set to go off for round 3 of the Penrite ProMX Championship presented by AMX Superstores as our riders get their elbows out in the fight for championship points. This round is proudly presented by Victoria, and it is great to be here. Hi, I'm Kate Peck, and with me is 11-time national motocross champion Lee Hogan. Hogs, I think we've got our first mudder for the season.
Yeah, we have our first true mudder. We've had some muddy tracks so far, I have no doubt about it. But the rain has fallen. We're in for some treacherous conditions, that's for sure.
Yeah, now we've had a couple of the MX1 motos under our belt. The boys have shown their cards, and once again, similar to the end of last year, we've got Aaron Tanti and Dean Ferris up the front, dueling it out.
Well, Aaron Tanti, he's got the #1 plate and, of course, the red background for a good reason. Reigning champion. He kind of inconspicuously cruised along at Appen. It was all about Dean Ferris with that 111. We thought he was going to come out on top. Great to see them both holding the red plates though.
And it is a clash of the MX2 Titans. Honda's Wilson Todd and KTM's Nathan Crawford, who did all his talking on track at Appen.
He did. Well, Honda's Wilson Todd, he's got the red plate and a nice handy little championship points lead. But wow, wasn't Appen all about Nathan Crawford? He made a massive statement. I'm looking forward to seeing how he's going to ride the mud. Not so good in time qualifying here today.
And in MX3, Appen Moto2, what a race. That class never ceases to entertain.
Well, the MX3 class, it continues to provide some of the closest battles that we have ever seen out there on the track. And that final moto at Appen, we had 5 riders. You could have thrown a blanket over all of them. And what an ecstatic Connor Towell we had. It was good to see.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at the Michelin track preview with yourself and expert commentator Danny Ham.
Welcome to our Michelin track preview here for round 3. There's so many key elements to the track here at Wodonga, in a place that is traditionally known as a hard-packed circuit. We've got super high-speed corners, we've got some very tight corners, and as we can see here coming out of turn 2, we've got dirt that's like chocolate cake, almost like kids' Play-Doh. It's that nice and tacky. And that, as we turn to our left and have a look down here, brings us to what we call the wood section, quite possibly the most famous part of the track here at Wodonga. A part of the track that gets next door to no sunshine throughout the whole day. If we have a look through here, the very first thing that we're presented with is a G-out that holds so much water. The straight line ruts that we get here is just phenomenal, and it certainly sorts the riders out, that's for sure. Which brings us to our next part of the track. Here we are, the notorious Turn 3 here at the Wodonga circuit, and a place that last year we saw over 10 separate ruts, 10 different line selections in just one corner. And a place where if you took a wrong line choice, you could lose not 1 or 2 positions, but maybe 5 or 6 positions just from a bad line choice. Now, when you consider the amount of rain that we've got expected, not to mention the lack of sunshine that makes it down here into the wood section, this is going to be a key spot to keep your eyes on.
Now the circuit here can be broken down into a couple of pieces. The very first part, or the first half of the track, is quite open, it's very fast. And these riders have the opportunity to start setting themselves up to make passes. Now sometimes those passes can take 2, 3, 4 corners possibly to make these passes, but essentially it's going to come down to this particular corner here. This is a much tighter part of the track. It tightens up a lot more here, as we see here in Michelin Turn. Now, there's going to be plenty of different lines for the riders to choose through here. As you can see right now, the surface itself in this particular part of the track is quite sandy. They've brought in some different type of material that's going to try and create some more of these lines. However, it looks good at the moment. What we're expecting though, with the weather that potentially could be here, this could turn into a key part of the track. there is going to be so many different lines that the riders need to choose from. So they're going to have to think ahead and try and plan these passes out nice and early to ensure they've picked the correct line going through these turns. Michelin turn was just the start of the tightness to this part of the track. Right here, standing on top of the massive wall jump, is the first part of the big jumps that will tighten the riders up even more. As they go down further through the track, we go into the final sections where it is even tighter once again. And if it shapes up to what we saw last year, that was the opportunity that a lot of riders had to make the passes right before the finish line. If this track shapes up anything like we saw last year, we're set for some fantastic racing. And that there is this week's Michelin Track Preview.
Well, Danny Ham, if we have a look down at the track at the moment, it looks a little bit different to the track preview that we just did. We have got our first mudder, as Kate just mentioned before, and it is treacherous out there.
Yeah, Lee, it's certainly a little bit different to what we walked around yesterday, but to be quite honest, for the amount of rain we've had, we looked at the radar this morning when we got up, the weather apps, and they said they had around about 20 mil of rain. And yes, it's a mudder, yes, it's horrible, but I'm actually surprised the track is not worse than what we were expecting. So the riders are getting around. The 80s have been out earlier today in their practice. They get set to get their first race underway, and it's going to be very difficult for them to get around.
This is exciting, Danny Ham. MX85, the World Junior Motocross qualifiers, a fantastic opportunity for some of our best young gun 85cc riders in the country. All eyes on the gate. We're watching for the first drop of the gate here at Wodonga.
Well, that number 5 rider absolutely nailed that jump, but just look at how much water is in that start straight.
It looks to be Cooper Ford on the KTM around the far left, but he almost bogged the small KTM there. Number 2 out the head of the pack, that is Heath Davey on board the Blue Crew machine.
So Heath Davey is a rider that I expected to be up there certainly early on in this race. I've seen a lot of his riding in the New South Wales area, local to where I am, and he is a very strong rider. But this class is absolutely stacked. I think that's Seth Thomas there on the 295, just taking a stab at it. It's going to be a challenge all day for us, Lee, to try and work these out, but already he has stepped over as well. So just shows how difficult it is. We're only 3/4 into this race.
Yeah, well, look, it's a battle of survival out here for the riders, but what they need to understand, and I'm sure for these young kids on the 85, their parents would be the ones mentioning to them, it's not just survival for the riders, it's survival for the bikes. If you had a look back there, just a second ago, you saw the smoke pouring off that bike. Now, we just need to be able to keep them up and moving. The radiators and how they work on these machines, they need air to be able to come through those scoops as the inside rider just goes down.
Yeah, that was Cooper Ford there. It looked like he was about to make a pass for the lead, but just got caught up in a rut. Now, they were second on track earlier on today, so the track was still relatively new. There wasn't too many lines pushed in. The slop certainly wasn't this thick, so it's a brand new track for them. In these conditions, they don't get a side lap. They just have to go out and learn it on the very first lap. So, very difficult, treacherous conditions at the moment, but it doesn't look good. It is Noah James on the number 5 machine that is leading the way at the moment.
No, that looks to be, yeah, absolutely. He had a beautiful line out of that Michelin left-hander there. He just had that left foot out. Whoa! Giving a little bit of a commentator's curse right there.
Just trying to find their way through this very difficult section. Well, difficult section. The whole track is a difficult section at the moment. But he's stretched out a lead and sits about 3 or 4 seconds in front of Lachlan Allen as they run. Oh, geez, that was a big jump. That's Heath Davey, sure.
Yeah, absolutely it was. Just sent that tabletop. Now, just about to make mention, Danny, you'll notice there's certain parts of the track where it's actually not too bad. The club managed to be able to seal certain parts of the track. There are other parts that were ripped really quite deep. And last Wednesday copped a massive amount of rain, and they've just really been fighting a losing battle trying to get this track sealed. So, and that's what you'll notice. If you watch closely, certain parts of the track that you can see almost hard pack, other parts are just bottomless mud at the moment.
Yeah, so these corners are going to shape up with some different ruts, but You just see how sloppy it is. They're not holding at all. The tops of the jumps here, nice and firm. They were not ripped, so they are able to get across these nice and easy. But into these parts where it was ripped, you can just see how deep these ruts are, and paddling their way through that corner.
Once again, just a little bit of information for our viewers at home. A couple of things these riders need to be mindful of with their bikes is gear selection. You choose too tall a gear and you have to swing off that clutch. A clutch that will normally last 35 to 40 hours on your motorcycle, you can totally fry a clutch in one race, let alone one day.
It's going to be a battle that all of these riders all day long will be fighting, just to try and keep these bikes running through the entire motos. So first lap down, that is a 3-minute lap time for these kids. Very hard conditions, certainly for them to get around. 20 minutes is the race. 15 minutes to go, so maybe it's been shortened a couple of minutes. Listen to those bikes. You can just start to see the amount of clutch burning up right there.
Yeah, you can hear the clutch, but you can also see that smoke coming out. That's coolant coming out the front of the motor there, so that's overheating. And it can only do that for a certain period of time. Once it runs out of coolant, then all of a sudden we don't see that smoke coming out anymore, but then you know you have catastrophic dramas on your hands.
That's not sure who
looks
that
to be
is.
Number 48.
Shorty.
And it's always, for us all day, it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle trying to bring the correct information to you guys and spot numbers. But that, of course, is Nate Short out of Victoria.
I'm sure when these kids entered this race, they weren't considering that they'd be riding around in these kinds of conditions. But this is motocross. This is what we, not us anymore, but as racers, we had to endure ourselves quite often. And it is part of the sport. It's not a particularly fun part of the sport, but it is a part of the sport that we have to go out and do if we want to be a top-level racer. And that's what these kids are learning right now. I'm sure they've been in mud conditions, though, plenty of times before, so it's not going to be anything new to them.
Yeah, and, you know, I think it's that same old story, mud and riding in the wet overall. It's such a mindset thing, and if you can have a positive thought process with the mud, and I know that's very easy to say. When you look at the track like this, who the heck could be positive about anything? It almost looks like a bomb site out there, to tell the truth. But I tell you, it's the riders that the night before in the motel, when those raindrops start falling on the roof, and they start thinking to themselves, yes, we're on tomorrow. And the other ones, they start thinking, no, please, I don't want it to rain. You know?
So it's the ones that go, yes, it's on tomorrow.
it's
the
on
New Zealanders love this stuff, and we'll probably see them actually factoring a lot today up in these. They do a lot of mud riding. They are very good in these conditions. So I expect to see them up there, certainly later on in the big races. But you're right, it is a mindset. I know for myself, I really did struggle with mud, and it is very easy to talk yourself into having a bad day and making it even more hard for yourself than it needs to be.
All right, so we've had a little bit of a swap around once again. Just a moment ago, we had Heath Davey in the lead, and it swapped back around to Seth Thomas, number 295, who has the lead. But that's telling us now a 32-second gap. Now, that can just change with the click of the fingers, is how easily things can go pear-shaped here today with a track like this, especially for these little two-stroke 85cc machines. What a fantastic job. Let's just give you a quick rundown of our top five. Seth Thomas from Heath Davey, back to Lachlan Allen, Peter Wolf, and in fifth place we've got number 194, Taj Schulenberg. So fantastic job for these young guns. Their rider coming through the Liat section now and steps that bike out sideways.
Doing very well to control it, even when it does start to get a little bit loose. That's one thing that can happen with a rider that's not comfortable on the bike. It gets very tight, makes it even harder again. So you got to be able to let that bike move around, do what it needs to do.
Now, Danny, as we have a rider's just hit the deck there, we're going to, that's our race leader, Seth Thomas. Sorry, what do you got for us, Kate?
Yeah, I'm down in the mechanics area with Maddie Healy. Maddie, what are you doing down here? I know you're looking after actually a little girl.
Yeah, I'm looking after young Nellie Fox. She's out there in the 85 qualifier for the World Championship. She's just coming out there to do some experience. Yeah, it's awesome for her to see her out there.
Now, you're usually racing. You're probably pretty happy you're not racing today.
Yeah, no, honestly, I love this stuff. Like, to ride in the mud is the funnest times because it gives everyone an opportunity to win. So, yeah, I said to her, I was like, you know, if you stay on, you can top 10 it out there. And she's like, really? So, yeah, it'd be good for her to see how she ends up.
Really cool. That's fantastic that you're out here supporting the girl. So I wish her the best of luck and, yeah, good luck for the rest of today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, there we see a rider just really struggling to even pick the bike up, and once again another one here continues to happen. Smoke coming off the side of this machine here. Take a little bit of a look at our Honda replay, and this is Deegan Fort, and he's about to have some dramas. It all started with a little bit of a washout to the side. That was a slow motion crash, almost held on to that.
Yeah, that there just screams hard work, doesn't it?
It does.
Absolutely screams it. So as we see another one down there, that's Davey.
Yeah.
Number 2. So on our timing, we had Davey in the lead. I believe we saw Thomas go down just before we went over to Kate there. So it just shows how quickly, as you said, Lee, that these positions can change around.
Now, Danny, just a quick little backstory on this. I know before the drop of the gate, I mentioned about how this is the qualifier, or how you can put your name up there in lights to be selected for the World Junior Motocross qualifier in the 85cc class. Another crash going down. That was our number 2 rider, Heath Davey, who is in the lead. This is just continuing. I've got to continue with this story. If you have a look and you see, we have currently got 10 minutes still to go in this race, but the duration is 20 minutes plus a lap. Now, the reason for that, it's almost unheard of to see the length of races being 20 minutes here in Australia. The reason that they've done that is because when they go over and race the World Championships, that is the length of the races, 20 minutes plus a lap.
Yeah, if we're going to be running our riders over there at these kinds of events, they certainly do need to get that experience of the same race length distances. So we see we think is our leader after his crash just a moment ago. We didn't see anyone make a pass on him. We won't be able to confirm that until they go across our timing loops, which should happen relatively soon. Seth Thomas is probably the only person that possibly could have made that pass into the lead, but there was a 41-second gap there at our last sector that grabbed these guys coming across. So potentially Heath Davies still has this one, number 2, in the lead at half moto distance, and already we've caught on camera 3 crashes for this young kid here.
Have a look at the rain falling, Danny. It is absolutely pouring out there at the moment.
Well, there is more rain still forecast. It is on and off at the moment, and it doesn't look to be easing up anytime too soon. We can only hope it does, because if they do get a bit of a drier track, it potentially may create some lines that become more raceable, but as it stands at the moment, still tough conditions.
Well, happened to see there the goggles and the lens of Heath Davey, our current race leader, and things are still looking really, really good on the helmet of Heath. He obviously hasn't copped too much roost straight into that goggle area, and that is half the battle, as you would remember, Danny. Scan your memory back to those days of, I remember some of our nationals that we raced. I remember racing Traralgon, where it was soup around the whole track. And the goggle side of things, we had roll-offs, we had tear-offs to choose from, but we did not have the technology that we have these days.
Yeah, it was more common to see what we just saw a second ago with the goggles off around the bars or thrown completely off the track. As we take another look at this replay, what a perfect place to land for this young rider right here, straight on top of the hay bale.
Yeah, that was classic, beautiful touchdown there, and would have scored a 9.9 from the judges. A nice, smooth, and also got not too much mud on himself for sure. So
that was a 29 machine just a second ago. I think there was none. Yeah, Jack Nunn that we saw. We expected him up there as well.
Yeah, well, he's dropped back to 3rd place now. Have a listen to that. So I think we've got a completely fried clutch there. So that's
possibly up one gear too high for consecutive laps, and the clutches will only last a lap or two before they're done. Unfortunately, at this stage, you've got no choice but to go back to first gear, get that front wheel back around into that same rut. And these poor kids, they just haven't been in these experiences before. They haven't had to deal with these kind of scenarios. And there we see our race leader, Heath Davey, come through.
Yeah, that was Kai Little just a moment ago on camera. Look at this, the bike standing up by itself.
Oh. And look, for our amazing sponsors that support us, we see a banner there. We're trying to, can you imagine having to take all of these banners home and have to get off the pressure washer there and give them a little bit of a clean up? Another rider here trying to pick up his Yamaha YZ85 machine. This is just absolute chaos around the whole track.
Jet Barclay just there on the 31 machine, up and going once again. Have a look at the wheels too, Hogue. So one of the big key things for these riders and anyone that does want to ride in the mud, as we take a quick look at another replay just here, the front wheel once again, just finding those hidden ruts that they don't see. What I was getting at with those wheels, that if you ride too slow, they build up with mud, they clog up, as you can see just there, and that actually creates a much slipperier surface for these bikes to go across. It slows down the rotation of the wheels and it makes it harder for the bike to get around. So essentially, the slower you go, the harder it is. You kind of need to keep that momentum to keep those wheels clean, like we see right here.
Yes.
And that way you can actually get some kind, if you can call it, traction out there in these kind of conditions.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. And it's almost like a two-stage process, isn't it, Danny, where the first stage is the wheel needs to be spinning fast enough to flick the mud out so that the knobs do the work. But the next stage is if you slow down enough that it clogs up enough with mud, that mud touches the inner part of your fork legs, your front wheel locks up and stops. So you literally can't ride then. So yeah, we want to try to keep these wheels moving so it flicks the mud out and those knobs are operational. But your worst case scenario, if your wheel locks up and you can't get going, it's almost DNF. It's race over.
Well, I can say that I'm impressed with the way these kids are going. It is, you and I have been in these conditions a lot. It's tough. And just to get around here is quite an effort. There is none there on the 29. So on our scoring, he's back there in third place, quite a long ways back. But it is really tough for these kids, or anyone, to get around here, and for these kids to do so, even though they've had some crashes.
Oh, absolutely loving the shot that we're getting from the drone here, Danny. That's straight down, bird's eye view, and it shows all the lines and how they go everywhere. I honestly think some of these kids would love to be able to see that bird's eye view, to be able to spot some of their lines and what may be a good choice. A rather innovative line there. I like what I just saw.
Yeah, both of those. That was a great line. Picked
Really
up
good.
something new, crossed over the rut, found some fresh part of the track, if you could call it that, where it's not too deep and not too ruddy. So good move by both of these kids. That is not in third, and the rider, or in second, according. Oh, geez, it's all crossed up again with our timing. It says that Peter Wolf now is in the lead. Is that Peter Wolf just there in front? Because these two riders have been together for about half the lap. They haven't pulled apart.
No, and they certainly look like they know what they're doing out there. They've been coming up with some creative lines. Once again, we see right here. I was just going to make a quick point there, Danny, with our two riders that are having a battle here, and they're both on screen at the moment. The one in the lead, you can see at the end of the peak, he has got a goggle lens that's taped on. Now, goggle lenses, these can be extremely handy in both muddy conditions like this and or at that time of the day when the sun's coming down and you put a tinted lens there, it can help block the sun out for you. But in these circumstances here, I know a lot of the big popular riding gear companies have those special shaped extenders for the end of the peak. And it just makes life so much easier. You see a lot of mud coming, duck your head down a little bit. That extension of the peak prevents a lot of that mud from hitting your goggle lens. One thing to remember for those at home that haven't ridden much of motocross, let alone these kind of conditions, you couldn't possibly imagine how heavy a motocross helmet becomes when the top gets absolutely caked with this sticky type of mud.
Just again, another case of not being able to see those ruts, and look at that bike. How's the parents that have to clean
I was
this?
just thinking the pressure wash bays
Yes.
after this.
And look how sticky it is, so you can't even budge it.
And that's Cooper Ford, number 75. Just it's heartbreak there for the kids. They're doing everything they can. And what we've got to remember here is this is no clubman class. This is we haven't just lobbed up to some C grade local regional event. We're talking some of the best riders in the country that are trying to get selected to race for Australia in the World Motocross Junior Championships.
So yeah, I think that was our race leader we had on screen before. I believe this could be them now. Peter Wolf, the 28 machine. So hard for us to see the number, but it does look like a 28 on the back there. So I think we are on the race leader. He's looking great too on the bike. Look how far back he is.
And you can see he's got the presence of mind. I like when we got a little zoomed in shot of his face that we could see with no goggles. Of course, he would prefer to have goggles on.
Was that our leader?
Trying to...
yeah, I think it was.
Looking like it is, because no goggles and extender on the peak.
So is that then on screen now? That should be Jack Nunn, the 29 machine. Perfect. Yep, so he should be our new leader again.
All right, well, great little battle we're seeing here, and a few creative lines, I must say. We're going to cut him a little bit of slack because of these conditions for sure.
Yeah, I think that we might even have some of the flaggies or officials even pushing them onto some of these lines to just assist to get them around. There are certain parts of this track that are absolutely eating up these 85cc bikes. So it's about survival right now. So as long as they get around the track with 37 seconds left to go in this moto before the last lap. So I believe it's probably going to take that long to get to the checkered flag or the finish line right now. So we should see the last lap board come out this time around.
Okay, great racing from these young 85cc kids, and that's, of course, the MX85 WJMX qualifier here at Wodonga, round 3 of the Penrite Oils ProMX Championship, brought to you by AMX Superstores. And what an absolute mudfest we have on our hands. We've actually got quite a few spectators lined up along the side of the start straight here, considering the conditions. Like, who in their right mind would want to get out of the warmth of their lounge room and the fireplace to come on down here? I guess the hardcore fans of the sport, and it's great to see quite a few out here enjoying it.
That's the beauty of motocross, isn't it? There is those fans that will come out here no matter the conditions. And I've got to say too, also with Jack Nunn, he's just been creeping up through the field. He was back there at 5th, 6th early on in this race. He's just continued to keep that consistency. He's made some mistakes himself. There is not a rider today that can go home and say they didn't make a few mistakes on the day. But he has done a great consistent job and kept it nice and simple, and it just slowly crept up through those positions. So a very smart ride there for our race leader. One more lap to get around, and hopefully he can close this one out.
As we can see here on our race leader, he's got handguards on. It's something that you traditionally see on those rocky tracks. Unfortunately, he got caught in a rut where a lapped rider has been stuck, but nice evasive manoeuvre there, managed to get out of the way. Was just about to make the point, Danny. Handguards here all of a sudden become very important to try to keep mud off those grips and off those gloves, because I don't know if you've ever had a crash and put particularly that throttle side down, go palm into the mud, and your throttle side grip goes into the mud. It is almost impossible to twist that throttle.
Yeah, all of a sudden you have to turn, you have to hold on much tighter to try and turn the throttle and just hold on. Oh, almost loose there. And that encourages even more arm pump on a day where you're certainly going to be riding very tight. This track becoming super wide here today.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's and at what point? I'm not sure if flaggies are pointing them in that direction, or that's just where they're going. But either way, I mean, I guess we've kind of got to cop them some slack, don't we? For sure. I am really intrigued as to how this next race is going to go, which will be the first of our big boys, the MX2 class. And this looks like a jigsaw puzzle compared to what they were presented with in practice.
Yeah, for the first time this year, our MX2 class have probably the best conditions to ride in, if you could say that. Generally, they go out on track and it is a mud pit, but there's no lines formed today. At least they could get around the track okay. Now that these lines are formed, it's becoming even more difficult. So, a few more corners to go, Lee, and Jack Nunn looks like he could close the first race out for the 85s.
Well, it really has been a seesawing battle at the head of the pack, that's for sure. But currently, Jack Nunn is the young gun that looks to be able to take that win here in the all-important first race of the MX85 WJMX qualifier. All right, so, Danny, we've just been given notification here. Rider 29, Jack Nunn, for cutting the corner, has received a one-position penalty. Now, I don't think that is overly, shall we say, too much discipline, shall we say, because there were 3 or 4 corners in a row that happened. So I think that's being fairly lenient there. Once again, I think we need to cut him a bit of slack, but we did see a lot of people trying to stay on the race line. So, it's a tough call, and hey, we're the ones that call the race. We're not the ones that make those decisions. But however, a penalty has been handed out to what was looking like to be our race winner, Jack Nunn, which will put Peter Wolf into a fantastic position.
Yeah, well, that was, should have been the checkered flag that time around. There it is, certainly waving at the moment, but for Jack Nunn, there was none at the moment, so he went around. It looked like he was going to do another lap, like you'd want to do another lap. So, yeah, it's going to have to wait for some official results. That there is Heath Davey, just trying to avoid the fallen rider. Again, once you get stuck in those ruts, Lee, you've just got to do whatever you can to get around.
And he finds himself back in 5th place, so with our race winner just receiving a 1-place penalty, Heath Davey, if he holds onto that spot, he will remain in 5th place.
So yeah, what a tough race for these kids to start out the day, and it's just giving us an idea of what the rest of the day is going to be like as well. It's going to take some time just to clear these bikes off the track that are still out there.
It's one thing for the race leader to come through first, second, third, but yeah, just getting the rest of these riders off the track and clear it and get that green flag waved for the next race.
That smoke is not a very nice smoke anymore, Lee. It's not very moist, that smoke, by the look to it. It's turned into that horrible smoke you spoke of earlier, just a little bit. Yeah, there's some bikes that are going to have some work needed done to them at the end of this weekend.
And that's the thing. Once you cross the finish line here, Danny, and you go back, and of course all the rest of the races get to happen, but these kids and their parents, they have to try to prepare some little 85s for another race later on. Not only do they have to clean all the mud off the bike, but they need to, once the bike cools down enough, check the radiator, get the radiator cap off, because trust me, they don't want to do that for quite a while. Once they do get the radiator cap off, they're going to do that magical moment where they grab the coolant bottle and they start tipping, and they go, okay, how much is this going to take? And then once you get, 400-500 mil in, you go,
you start grabbing for the second bottle.
Oh, this is not good. And then you start to wonder what metal pieces have melted and bent inside the motor. Could not get more of a perfect time to show us. And God, you just feel for this kid there with that smoke pouring from the bike and just trying to get the bike off the track.
Oh, I see that, the grip then, the re-grip of the throttle. That's exactly what we were talking about, just to try and turn the throttle there, just to get up that jump. So, wow, what a day for them.
Oh, dear. That's race number 1 in the books here at round 3 of the Penrite ProMX Championships, brought to you by AMX Superstores. And we're going to take a quick look at our Honda highlights here for the 85s in the World Junior Motocross Qualifier, and it was an awesome jump out of the gate there for number 75, Cooper Ford. But it wasn't to be coming into the first turn. It was Heath Davey on the Yamaha that swept around the outside and controlled that position for the early stages of the race.
It wasn't long though till we started to see our riders falling over in these very difficult ruts. That was the 295 of Seth Thomas, one of our early leaders. Look at that, straight almost over the bars in a rut going into a turn. It's not that often you see that, but they did what they could to try and survive this one.
Beautiful launch there by Heath Davey up and over that tabletop. We didn't see too many people do that throughout the whole race.
This is a common occurrence here, looking for assistance as we see the smoke absolutely bellowing from these bikes.
Little bit of a front wheel tuck there, and it's so easy to do with these ruts that are hidden from slop on top. You think you're doing the right thing. You think you're going in the right direction, but there's a little hidden gem underneath, and then sometimes you'll end up going through a banner as well. So really, it was just a case of survival here in the first of the 85 motos.
Of course, it was going to be Jack Nunn that came across the line of first, but that one place penalty.
Well, what a way to start the day here at Wodonga. Time for a quick little commercial break. When we come back, it's MX2 time.
AMX Superstores are proud to present the 2023 ProMX season, and they're giving away a $1,000 shopping spree every ProMX round. That's 8 chances to win $1,000 to spend on all your favourite gear at AMX. To enter, simply purchase any product at AMX Superstores, either online, in-store, or at the AMX pop-up shop at ProMX. Then scan the QR code and fill out the form to win. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? Rush in now to AMX for your chance to win. AMX Superstores, proudly supporting the 2023 ProMX series.
Hi, I'm Todd Waters and I race motocross and off-road for Factory Husqvarna Australia. And I believe suspension is everything. And I treat my four-wheel drive exactly the same. And that's why I choose Gabrielle's suspension.
Welcome back to Wodonga for the Penrite Oils ProMX Championships, brought to you by AMX Superstores. We are going to head straight down to the podium. We have got Kate with our race winner.
Yes, in P1, Seth Thomas. Seth, wow, what an incredible ride in really tricky conditions. How was it out there?
Yeah, it was challenging, hard. Just got to keep the bike up and get pushed through it.
Yeah, and we've still got one more race to go. What are your thoughts going into that? I think the bike needs a bit of a clean-up.
Yeah, I think it might be a bit worse with the lines, but just same, got to push through it and just focus on myself and get some good lines.
Well done, Seth. Good luck in the next race.
Thank you.
Just a thumbs up, brother.
Priceless. What an amazing ride from the young lad, Seth Thomas, getting a victory there, and he looked pretty composed, didn't he?
Yeah, it didn't seem like too much was bothering him at all.
No.
He probably knows he doesn't have to go back and clean the bike, though.
That's true. I want to see Dad's face and see what it looks like. But have a look at our drone shot of the start straight here.
And
The pooling of water on the inside, but also straight out of the gate on the outside. Looks like there's some good spots around. I'm going to say 6, 7, 8 on the grid, and then across even a bit further, around 15, 16, 17. Trying to avoid as much of those deep puddles as you can.
Yeah, so starts, key part, as always, but even more so here. Like you said, trying to find the right area where you're not having to ride through the water will give you more drive. Also, if you don't get the jump and you're next to the guy that does go through the water, all of a sudden you've got zero vision going into turn one, and ultimately you're going to go backwards. You're not going to be at the front. So really important that they jump out nice and early. These riders were first on track, completely different now. They're not getting a sight lap, and they're going to go straight into this race. They've got to learn it as they go.
Yeah, so exactly, Danny Ham. We've just been given the word from MA, no sight lap. Great call. I tell you, half of this field here would not want to do the sight lap, even if they had the option of being able to do it. So as you can see, everyone looking nice and clean. The drop of the gate, that is going to change immediately, except for 1 or 2 people at the head of the pack. And I'm tipping someone like a Brodie Connolly, perhaps, who was fastest in time qualifying with a 1:57.003, only 0.5 of a second faster than his teammate, also Honda-mounted Wilson Todd. Those guys have been lightning out of the gate at every single race so far, but they need to do it this time. They cannot afford a bad start.
Well, we're about to find out how this one unfolds, but as we said, key is right now, make your life so hard if you don't get the jump, or you can make your life so much easier if you can get yourself out into it clean. As we look at the Pirelli MX2 lineup, of course, Brodie Connolly, Wilson Todd, Alex Larwood was fast today, so was Caleb Barham, Jacob Sweet, Noah Ferguson, Kate Minia, Rhys Budd, Jace Cosford, and Jesse Dobson.
Would have expected Jesse Dobson to be a little bit further up the leaderboard there in time qualifying. Liam Andrews, we said, see their 12th fastest. Cody Cooper, the New Zealander. These guys know how to ride the mud. All right, Danny Ham, we are in the starters' hands. Pirelli MX2, Moto number 1. Who will rocket out of the gate? Both of the Honda teammates next to each other, the number 1 and the number 88, right next to Larwood on the Yamaha. Let's watch and see that jump.
Side's good, but water held back. Oh, look at
Connolly was right out of the gate, but held it on into the first turn and trying to pick up that Yamaha rider on the inside there. Is that number 78? But Connolly around the outside. The Kiwi is in the lead.
Wow, one rider just getting taken down there. Is that Dobson, I think, actually might be the rider that went down. Connolly is in the lead. That's Crawford there in second
place, yes.
They'll come across our timing loop, our first loop just here out of this corner. Remember, they've got to learn this track. None of these ruts were there the first time out. One rider already losing.
Jacob Sweet back in third place. What a brilliant start from him. And have a look at the agile form from Brodie Connolly out the head of the pack. Nathan Crawford back there in second place. Quick little reach up of the roll-offs. And really, these early stages of a 25-minute plus 1 lap moto on a track like this, Danny, it's all about finding your momentum and getting into a bit of a rhythm, isn't it?
Yeah, so third place just coming through the ruts there, was reaching up to maybe lose their goggles. That was Jacob Sweet. I did see a second ago Kate Minia threw his goggles off 2 turns back as well. So if you can't see what you're doing out there, it is impossible to ride around these conditions. Another rider to mention, Hayden Smith, another New Zealander that's going to be out there. He's going to be very quick as well as they make this. Look at the lead that Connolly has already, but I'll tell you, Crawford, he's not letting go just yet as we look to the 7-hole shot award, of course, going to the 88 machine of Brodie Connolly.
Yeah, I think one of the most impressive rides at the moment, we expected this from Connolly, didn't we? Fastest in qualifying was Nathan Crawford, who was nowhere near the pace of Brodie Connolly or Wilson Todd for that matter. So there we see Emma Milicevic, who it's great to see Emma here. Of course, there's no women's class here at Wodonga. Our next women's event isn't until the next round, 2 rounds later actually, at Gilman. So it's good to see her out here in such crazy conditions racing against the boys in the MX2 class.
I think I saw that Crawford possibly might not have goggles on either, already thrown them away, so that's going to be very difficult. This rider here, no peak, no goggles. Now that is the hardest setup you're going to have all day.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's Caleb Barham, isn't it? It looks to me that it's the Husky. It's the number 16. He's got no peak now, and he's got no goggles on. And I'm wondering, he doesn't look to be covered in mud. I'm wondering how the heck that peak has just randomly managed to come off. So still looking super clean up at the head of the pack, but a little bit loose through that section there.
Could really take an advantage at the moment, can't you though, Lee? If you can open up a bit of a gap in these first couple of laps while people are still trying to sort out where they're going on the track, trying to sort out the position on track amongst the other riders, and as we see right here, already open up quite a considerable lead over Crawford. However, Crawford can't be concerned or worried right now. Just get into the flow of this race and then see if it comes to you or not. He's in a great position if anything goes wrong. So right now he just needs to stay calm. And again, looking back through all these, another rider, is that Minia, I think, right there? No, that's
Caleb Barham once again. Yep. No peak on.
So Barham's there in 6th.
Okay, wow. So
to 5th.
Yeah, Jacob Sweet obviously having a few dramas there. Rider that needs to be a little bit careful and make sure he starts going forwards is Wilson Todd, back in 8th place at the moment. If things start going pear-shaped for you, you start moving your way backwards, that little points lead that he's got in the championship will be eaten away very quickly by the likes of Brodie Connolly and Nathan Crawford.
A few more names that we'd expect to see at the front, so obviously a bad start to them. Reece Budd back there in 10th, Alex Larwood's in 11th.
Oh, rider just was zigzagging, one going off.
That's Crawford.
Oh, it is, and he's not walking towards his bike. He's off.
That bike's dead.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Wow. Bike is smoking there in the middle of the track. So what has gone wrong there? Is it a bike failure? It wouldn't be just, he doesn't look like he has an issue with him personally.
It doesn't look medical. It doesn't look like an injury. And we've obviously got a track marshal there trying to start the bike, Caden Minia. So what's going on here? If we look closely at Crawford, just absolutely dejected as he walks off. So to have this scenario unfold as it did at Wodonga, we've got riders, bikes in here, all kinds of things going on. But this is the story right now. This was the charge from a big points deficit to be trying to make up on Wilson Todd, who is currently in 7th place. And after the Appen round that he had, for this to happen, he needs to try to find out, if possible, I don't know if Kate's anywhere near Nathan Crawford or whether he would even be half interested in having a chat. But Wilson Todd on screen at the moment has made his way up one position to 7th place. Needs to be patient, doesn't it? It doesn't need to happen in the first 5 minutes.
Well, here's the thing. You need to get to the end of the race. Even if it means that you just back it down, save your bike, take your time. Wilson Todd in 7th place is making a lot more points than a KTM at the front. So it's certainly about saving the bike a bit. He's just trying to survive at the moment.
All right, let's quickly go down to Kate, who I believe has got Kyle Blunden. Kate, what do we got?
Yeah, I just grabbed Kyle Blunden. I just wanted to get a comment from you, Kyle Blunden, as to Nathan Crawford and what went down.
Yeah, look, unfortunately we didn't really get to see exactly what happened. We only really saw Nathan walking off the track. So yeah, it'll be interesting to really understand when we get back to the truck and find out what's happened and sort of see how we can diagnose and move forward from Moto 2.
Yeah, really disappointing. Thanks for talking.
Yeah.
Well, we've got vision actually now on screen, so
without a doubt we'll tell the story.
Yeah, 100%.
So we'll keep our eyes peeled and everything looking a-okay at the moment. A little bit of smoke that we just saw a second ago coming out of that motorcycle, Danny. Without a doubt, we've got a fair bit of smoke coming from it. Okay, so we'll keep everyone updated with any information that we get. Not really too much info from Kyle. You would have to point towards it. Doesn't look like he's injured. It's bike related.
Yeah, I think it's going to be bike related. But at the same time, Kyle's not going to know exactly what's happened either until they get that bike back and actually start to see what's going on. So let's have a look at the order at the moment. We've got our screen here in front of us. Brodie Connolly, of course,
25-second lead,
leading the way, but he is in front of Jace Cosford, who we haven't seen much of this year so far. So great to see him up there as the number 12 machine tips over just on screen there in front of us. That is Seaton Broomhall. So quite a different looking list. Caleb Barham, who we said was back there 6th, 7th, 8th place, is now there in 3rd place. Caden Midia in 4th. Wilson Todd has been moved up to 6th place. So again, it's about making it to the checkered flag right now and just taking your time and saving those bikes. I saw that while they were doing practice. A lot of riders very hard on the bike, very hard on the clutch, and that kind of riding is certainly going to take a toll on the bike.
Yes, it will. Now, Danny, just a quick little backstory on Jace Cosford, the Yamaha rider out of Queensland, a rider that hasn't done huge things on a national level, but on a state level, you go drop him into a state level round where he could be racing against your Wilson Todd, your Brodie Connollys, and he'll come out and get a win. He's just such an amazing rider, but I tell you what, he loves the mud.
Well, that is him on screen.
Oh,
I think
front
right
fender.
now, that's probably snapped.
Yeah.
It's snapped.
It has.
The bolts are there.
Front right side of the bracket, it is snapped.
Oh, no, that's not. Sorry, that's not Cosford. But yeah, that that would be very off-putting. That will come off soon. I did see, though, a minute ago, just in front of Minia was Cosford going up that jump. So that's allowed Caleb Barham to move forwards. Now, will he eat into this lead at all?
Well, that's the thing. If we take a look at the last lap times, we had a 2:35 for Brodie Connolly. So once again, continuing to be in a league of his own. The next closest, Caleb Barham, with a 2:37. And then we're back to Cosford with a 2:40, a 2:47 for Caden Minia, a 45 for Jacob Sweet, 43 for Wilson Todd. So Wilson Todd, he is just tiptoeing his way around at the moment, but needs to do a little more. It's getting to this stage of the race now where 6th place is not going to cut it when your teammate's up there in the lead.
Up and over the tabletop was our race leader of Brodie Connolly on that Honda. As we said, we expect the New Zealand riders to be able to come out and blitz these kind of conditions. We saw it early on in practice as he very smoothly just cruises around the inside there. Both feet actually off the pegs on the up ramp to that tabletop. Just finding those lines nice and early. There was plenty of early pace by, if you could call it, so close.
And so close to hitting a lapped rider. Like that, heart rate would have gone through the roof.
And the little flag marshal box there, he actually jumped over the top of it as well. So, and he possibly could have gone down just then as well. Have a look at this. Front wheel went for a long way trying to grab it, and then up and up over this little box.
Did you notice the foot dab? Now, as motocross riders, we get one chance at a foot dab to try save us when we're going down, and that was one of the biggest foot dabs I have ever seen. He had one shot to try to keep that up, and the back leg just swung fully off the back of the bike, but it saved him. It did what it was supposed to do.
So just looking at here to see how far back Barham was, we didn't see him come into shot. Oh, Emil Lesevic just got caught up there. He's created a bit of a roadblock. Here looks like Minia, possibly.
And have a look at the smoke coming off the KTM. You know, heaven forbid we have a couple of the factory KTMs out of the race, and you do not want that for Caden Minia, the young 15-year-old superstar who's really world-class. What he is doing here in this MX2 class in Australia, that's world-class.
Currently sits 5th in the championship, and he is going to make up some very valuable points at the moment because the only person in front of him in the championship is Connolly. So he's going to get a few points on those places in front, but he can't continue to do those kinds of things.
It's all right. It's just a quick little pit stop and back up and running again.
So Barham, 24.2 seconds. That is a couple of seconds closer to Connolly. Now we're going to probably put that down to Connolly having that small tip over that we expected, or suspected, I should say. He had just as we went to that replay. It wasn't much of a crash if it was.
Sorry, Danny, you can see at the back of the pants there of Caden Minia, it looks like a rag or a goggle case or something like that. The riders put this in this position here for worst case scenario. If you have a bit of a crash, a bit of a tip over, and either goggles or gloves in particular, if you put your palm down onto the mud and you literally can't hold onto your grip, they just pull that out, give it a quick wipe, throw it down on the ground and keep going. It only gives you one shot, but it gives you a chance of trying to, whether it's goggles or whether it's gloves, get it back into working order once again.
Brodie Connolly, the 88 machine. absolutely ripping it apart out the front at the moment. Looks very comfortable, of course. We said it earlier on, there's not one rider on the track today that will be able to go home at the end of the day and say they didn't have a moment or a mistake around here, and that includes our race leader right now, but he is doing the best currently on track as we get down to half race moto. 12 minutes left still to go in this one as he creeps his way through some of these lap riders, which is a challenge in itself.
Yeah, and a nice little creative line there going from one rut across three to the far inside. So you'll have to do that throughout certain parts of the track where what might start out as a good line, by the time you get to the exit of the corner, becomes a very, very bad line. So to be able to get out of these lines really becomes quite tricky. You need to lighten up that front wheel, otherwise you can find that front end tucking and you're hitting the deck.
Have a look at the colour of that pipe lead. Just shows how much heat is going through that as they are holding it on so much. Those bikes revving to the moon just to keep them moving around the track. You see another down.
Oh. That wasn't one of those slow motion crashes where you're just like, oh, I think I've got this, I think I've got this. That was just one of those quick slap into the ground.
Yeah, that one we can see it was coming from a little bit off. So let's look down the Pirelli leaderboard now just to give us context onto where everyone sits currently. It is Connolly Cosford back up into second place as we take a quick look at this replay. Watch the front wheel.
It was a foot dab that didn't work and just boom, just hit the deck. And sometimes, you never know, he might have had 2 or 3 crashes already. Sometimes when you feel yourself starting to go and the pure energy it takes to keep it up, sometimes you just go, oh, you know what, I'm going to have a little lay down here.
There is points on the day where you don't rush to get back up now too. You just go, no, I'm done. And then you realise you've still got a moto to finish. As we see, that was Cody Cooper a second ago. Caden Minia putting, is that a lap down possibly on him? To continue on what I was saying with our leaderboard, as we see Minia there almost going down once again. Cosford moves himself back up in second place in front of Barr, and Minia on screen still sits in fourth with Wilson Todd now sitting in fifth. Larwood, who was so far back, has moved himself up into sixth, so he has really moved through quite a lot of positions. Smith back there in seventh. McKay, Sweet, Reese Budd also actually moves up one right as we speak. Jesse Thompson back there in 11th place.
That's a great close-up shot there of the Fox helmet on Caden Minia that you would have noticed. The very top of the helmet has a complete slab of foam. It's a fantastic idea, and I think I mentioned a little bit earlier in the 85 race how heavy helmets become. And I don't know if you remember or not, Danny, whether it happened to you. It happened to me many times over the years where the helmet become that heavy, and especially once you rip your goggles off, it starts pulling the helmet down on the front to the point of where you can barely see because it's fallen down that far. So a terrific idea to get as much foam as you can everywhere. So they have it in between your back brake pedal and your foot peg, same as on the other side in between your gear shift. They get it zip tied in there so it stays in there underneath your skid plate. So in between your skid plate and the bottom of your engine casings, they fill that up with a nice slab of this special fire resistant foam. And of course, as we saw with Caden there, it's really quite common to have it on. Oh, okay.
That is race leader. That is a very smoky bike with 8 minutes still left to go in this one. So what do you think, Lee? Do you think the mechanics in the pitboard area, are they going to give them any information, time? And look at the way it's puffing out. It's not just a constant thing. Do you think the mechanics might be saying, hey, we need to back off a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. You need to, because you've got to put yourself into, have a look at that bike there. You've got to put yourself into Brodie Connolly's position at the moment. He's so focused on the track, he can't see that smoke coming out, right? He doesn't know that it's happening. So his only point of contact with motocross and supercross, we don't have any form of in-ears communication, do we? So his only, and that is absolutely pouring out the smoke at the moment. This is catastrophic.
Well, it may make it to the end.
Yes.
We don't know. We can't say for sure, but as we've seen on the right-hand side there, the provisional results.
If we keep, I think it's just trying to keep this thing going at the moment. I think what happens as a bike starts to I guess when it loses all of its coolant like this, it eventually starts to lose its horsepower ever so slightly. Now, that's certainly something that he will be able to feel for sure, without a doubt.
But at that point, it's almost too late.
Yeah.
It's starting to die at that point. So,
yeah, and look, I can remember back as we have a little bit of a look here. Caleb Barham off-track excursion into the RP filters banners there, and he's getting a little bit tangled up, having to make his way underneath. The smoke coming from that bike is simply water on the motor. It's just bound to happen sooner or later. And this, without a doubt, is the story we need to watch from a rider that is just in scintillating form at the moment. But he's got 6 minutes 59. We've just ticked over 7 minutes to go prior to the last lap board coming out, Danny. So it really is a case of survival here.
Oh, almost getting taken down by a lapped rider there. I was about to say that the smoke has eased up a little bit underneath this bike, which is not a good sign, but it's still there. So there's got to be some coolant still within this bike. Take another look at this replay. Watch for the leader almost getting taken down here. Well, no, he had a bit of room there. Yep. But that was Liam Atkinson. These are the things that you need to keep your eye on as you're coming through the pack. Nursing.
There you
exactly
go.
Right.
So that's the answer to your question, Danny. Now, how do you like that?
Yeah.
Now, I was going to make reference to a race last year or the year before in America, the AMA Outdoors, where I believe it was Tomac who received a pit board from his mechanic. There was smoke pouring from his bike, and he had a big lead. He toned it down a notch. I think he might have finished 3rd or 4th in the race, but he really toned it down, and he managed to survive and get the bike through. All these bikes, they're mechanical, and anything that's mechanical has the opportunity or the possibility to fail. We've seen it with every single brand out there, and we saw it, I believe, in what we think may have been the case with Nathan Crawford's in the early stages of the race. So no one is immune to this happening in these conditions.
So with 5 minutes left to go and the lap times we've got, there's potential for around about 4 or so more laps, which means with a 25-second lead, well, actually our timing loop just changed on us and has put Cosford in front, Connolly in second. So we'll look for some confirmation on this visually.
With everywhere we look.
Honda there, no, I don't think that was Connolly. Just out of that corner there was a bike at the up ramp. That was after the first timing loop. So, man, I feel for our directors trying to pick up the riders and who is where at the moment. We'll do our best to try and see if we can find them. It looked like Connolly was on the back straight, just to the right there, going down the back straight out of Pirelli as they went through there. So possibly he's still running.
Now, Wilson Todd snuck his way up there into 4th place, and our leaderboard has just swapped back around once again to register Brodie Connolly as still being in the race lead. So
yeah, Connolly's about to come down towards the finish line at the moment.
Wilson Todd's just slotted down to 5th place. He's just lost a couple of positions. So we'll try to keep tabs on what's going on here and keep that backstory going for you guys. But
it's Cosford there on screen in 2nd place.
Cosford, what an amazing ride. Like we mentioned earlier on in the race, just a gun in the mud, just loves these conditions. And he's sneaking along very, very well at the moment. He's picking good lines. He's looking nice and loose on the bike.
Yeah, just taking his time, being very gentle. There was Connolly just in back of shot. So, yes, he is still out there rolling around, which is good to see.
And only 3:44 on the clock left, Danny. It's ticking down rather fast.
Cosford into the right-hander. This is actually right before the finish line. Back wheel sliding all over the place. And there's no one even close to him. Burham is our next rider back. Well, actually, it's now Caden Vinnier according to our timing. So, Barham down another position on our timing. So, yeah, he's had another issue that's dropped him back a couple more. Again, Wilson Todd, we said, was just taking his time early on in this race. Sits now in 4th place as Cosford off the side of the track once again.
Well, a rider the experience of Wilson Todd. He didn't get the best of starts, but he didn't panic, and he hasn't had any crazy bad curveballs thrown at him. If you go charging through the pack and sit right behind riders, fill those radiator scoops up with mud so that your bike cannot breathe, It's it doesn't matter, you know, you can have the safest bike in the world and it's going to go boom on you, that's for sure.
So there is our race leader continuing his form up the front. Very big lack of smoke now coming out of the back of that bike. None at all. So hopefully he's done the hard work in this race. Hopefully he does make it to the finish line. The bike certainly doesn't look like it's slowing down at all at the moment.
And what a deserved win it would be for him. Ever since the drop at the gate, he has been the form rider in these conditions. And I've got to say, he's coming off the back of a nice little sneaky little trap there under the ground. A little, like you mentioned, Danny Hammy, a little hidden gem that's just been presented out of nowhere. But I had the pleasure of watching him at the Nunawading Good Friday Appeal race day that we had a week ago. And I tell you, just watching him, he didn't have any of the big hitters with him racing. However, just watching him, he just looked so fast. He looks in fine form at the moment.
That's something that we can certainly say he is. He is very fast, especially on the opening laps. His pace has been up there, and you know, as he works his way through this championship and that stamina for the longer races comes into play, he will get better and better and better. And with performances like this, it's just going to boost that confidence. Also, it's going to all start to come into play, and I feel that we're going to see some big results out of him before this championship is over. Already he's had some great results, but I feel that we will see him standing on the top step more times than we have seen him up there so far this year.
Now, I also we saw the pit board that was popped out to Brodie Connolly saying, you know, nurse the bike, take it easy. And I think we can see that he's noticeably wound it back a notch. And I think that that's what we're seeing here at the moment is some very, very smart riding from Brodie Connolly, the New Zealander, on the factory Honda racing machine. And he is staring down the barrel with 30 seconds to go in this race before he receives the last lap board. He's staring down the barrel, taking victory here in Moto 1.
The bike's still sounding pretty good there, so you know, he is, as you said, he is truly deserving of the win of this race. Still getting up and over these jumps as we see the rain falling again just a moment ago. It's I think it's going to be with us all day, this on and off rain that's going to keep the track in these wet conditions. There's a couple of bikes there in front of him. Absolute quagmire through there.
Now, Danny, I was just watching really closely, and this is a perfect way to see right here. If you watch Brodie Connolly, the really good mud riders are so agile with their upper body and how they move side to side. They very rarely stay rigid and solid in their upper body. The more you can move side to side, the better your wheels are going to track and stay in a straight line. It's been a long time since I've seen someone ride as agile in the upper body. See that side to side, just brilliant.
Through some very deep parts here. Look at that, it's actually a dry line just there. The part of the track that hadn't been ripped up is it's produced a dry line. So as we said, if it had stopped earlier in the day, we had that potential of a track that could offer us some different lines. Here is our championship leader at the moment, Wilson Todd.
Back in 24th place, Denningham, is Jesse Dobson, and he's down 3 laps. So yeah, that's definitely not where he wants to be, that is for sure.
Wilson Todd around the outside here. It's up those riders still trying to get underway. We saw them a moment ago as Connolly came through in the lead. He's taking his time. He will collect some extremely valuable points in the championship. We will lose some to Connolly, of course, who sits there in second. So still a good start to the day. Oh, yeah, that's the last thing you need. Plenty of water still in that bike.
Yellow flags out there as we can see some riders strung across the track here. Brodie Connolly won't be too far away from coming across that finish line area to receive the last lap board, which I believe he has just done now as he does his little zigzag and makes his way towards the extremely deep and muddy first left-handed turn where they'll come past the mechanics area. What an amazing ride it has been so far. Just under a lap to go for Brodie Connolly. The Kiwi done a fantastic job in the mud, and we would expect nothing less.
As you said, the way he moves around the bike, and he stands so far back as well, keeps that front wheel nice and light, lets it move around to where it wants. Quite often it's when you fight the bike in these conditions, especially when you get into these ruts, that's when you have these issues. So the looseness of him and the way he lets it move around, another quick pull of those roll-offs, and he's done very well to keep his vision nice and clear as well, coming through all of these lapped riders.
Now, 18 seconds to go back to Jace Cosford. Last lap it was 19 seconds, so some exceptionally good lead management from Brodie Connolly here. Not feeling that he needs to win this by a minute, but doing what he needs to get to the finish line in first place. You've got to negotiate your way past the lap riders as well.
And still that bike sounds like it's running strong, so a very good performance here.
It's so unexplainable, that mid-race part of the part where it was just blowing smoke out exceptionally fast. That, you know, sometimes points towards disaster being on its way any moment, but somehow it's come out the back end of it, and it's great to see.
Well, maybe just the fact that he has backed it down a bit has started to save that bike, and it's not blowing as much smoke because of that. Well, that's not something you want to feel on the very last lap as you're heading around for a win in this race. He's got another rider down just in front of him through Pirelli Turn here as they go up and over this wall jump into these tabletops.
Last part of the circuit, Sector 3 coming up, about to come through the rollers, which are normally super fast. At the moment, they are very, very difficult, and it's just simply a case of trying to keep it in a straight line. Once again, another tough part of the track, this right-hander here, but Brodie Connolly seems to have found himself a nice line inside that drifts out towards that outside, and that really is one of the biggest battles on a track like this, is not only finding a good line, but being able to change your lines as the track changes, because every lap you go through, you've got to remember, you've got 39 other riders that come through, and they can either mess up your good line or they can totally change it. So final corner coming through, and he will receive the checkered flag. Factory Honda rider, an amazing win for Brodie Connolly, and that's the way you do it. The young lad out of New Zealand will make up some amazing points on his teammate Wilson Todd, who looks at the moment to secure himself a top 3. But Jace Cosford, the Yamaha rider out of Queensland, what a fantastic second place this will be.
There he is, just in shot on the left, about to head up over that tabletop.
And that 18-second gap has blown out to what is saying on our screens, 53 seconds now, Danny.
So what a ride by the Honda rider to open up the day here at Wodonga in these very muddy, tricky conditions. There is Cosford over the line for second place. Fantastic effort right now. Oh, sorry, over the line. He's got a couple more jumps to go. My apologies. A couple more turns. But he is only just moments away from getting that second place secured. There it is. What a ride it was for Cosford.
Great job for the Queenslander, and he will be absolutely stoked with that. Gives a little bit of a nod of the head, and here comes Wilson Todd. Number 1, red background on the plate, and with the points that he has gathered here in Moto number 1, a third place, he'll be happy with that, coming from as far back as he did. A terrific job.
Tell you what, was that Barham right there, just going up the up ramp as well? I think it was very close. So
3
Wilson
seconds
Todd
back.
only just got that one. That's not Minia just yet. Might have already gone across the line though. So Minia back there in 5th. So another good ride. And look at this. 1 lap down from that point on. Our race leader laps all the way through to 5th place.
Yeah, what an amazing job there. And look, it was plain to see he was in a league of his own. Had some battles through the mid there with some lap riders and also maintaining his bike. But great job, and really looking forward to finding out the story on Nathan Crawford and what's gone wrong there, because he would just the frustrations that he'll be going through, feeling like he'll just take 1 step forward, 2 steps backwards. And it's not just one thing. It's not just injuries or just bikes or whatever it may be. Okay, well, it's time to go down to Kate, who's with our winner.
Yes, I've got Honda's Brodie Connolly. Brodie, wow, what a smart, tough ride that looked like. Did you know how much your bike was smoking?
No, I didn't. I had some messages on the pit board saying to take it easy. So, but yeah, I just knew I had to get a good start and try to get a lead at the start. And I knew knew it would have been fine because it would have been chaos behind me, I'm sure.
And I mean, I spoke to your mechanic. He said you're like a kid in a candy store. What do you think of the conditions out there?
Yeah, it's sick. Well, loving it, eh? It's pretty gnarly, one of the gnarliest races I've ever done. So yeah, it was fun though.
Well done. We'll see you in the next moto.
Cheers, thank you.
Oh, what a fantastic job, and I love the Kiwi accent there. It was just brilliant. And he'll be hoping to do more of the same come Moto 2, Danny Ham. That is the way you start your campaign today. Very, very happy team manager, Yuri Konski there, and of course Regan Duffy, the man himself, comes over for a little congratulations to Cosford. Let's have a look at the results. Pirelli MX2 Moto 1, Brodie Connolly with the win, Jace Cosford in second place. Wilson Todd rounding out the top three from Caleb Barham and Caden Minia to the top five.
Great result there for Minia, collects some good points. Hayden Smith, Liam Andrews gets himself a good result as well. Alex Larwood, Reese Budd and Hugh McKay up there in the top 10 also.
There we see Jacob Sweet in 11th, Mackenzie O'Brien, Cody Cooper, the Kiwi, Blake Fox back there in 14th. And a big name, Noah Ferguson in 15th, carrying a little bit of an injury.
Yeah, Ferguson will be doing it very tough out there after the injury we saw at the last round. To go into these conditions would be very difficult. Jesse Dobson all the way back there in 27th. Haruki Yokoyama also back there as well. So showing how difficult it is for some of our top riders to get around here. And it's certainly not going to get any easier in Moto number 2.
Yeah, some of the names down the bottom there. We've got Elijah Weesey, Benny Novak, Nathan Crawford, of course. Unfortunately, these guys down 10 laps. That means very early in the piece was a DNF for them. So let's take a look at the Honda highlights here for Moto 1 of the Pirelli MX2 class, and have a look at the water fly from that bundle on the inside.
Oh, that was Emma Elizabeth.
No.
That's why she was in changing her goggles so earlier on. So what a shame that was. It looked like the Yamaha was going to get that up the inside. That was Dobson's first crash, I feel. Yes.
Yeah, it just went from bad to worse, and here is the walk, and just disgusted is Nathan Crawford. Nothing you can do when you're walking back to the pits.
Cosford, of course, with the great ride. Oh no, this wasn't Cosford we thought it was, but that was the broken front guards. Connolly had some moments.
That was the close call. I guess as it Tom Cruise's mechanic in Days of Thunder said it, loose is fast, Danny.
Loose is fast and on the edge of out of control. That's what you need to be to get around this track. Media with some moments, almost throwing a knack-knack there in the corner.
Yeah, Danny getting very excited here, the old school freestyle, but fantastic ride. And here was where that crazy amount of smoke started to come. Nurse it was the message, as Brodie decided he didn't like that message and roosted all of us here in commentary. As we got to that latter stages, the fine form continued from our race leader, and a win, and a solid win it was for Brodie Connolly. So fantastic job there from the Honda rider, that is for sure. Well, Victoria certainly is the place to be when it comes to relaxing. We got the beautiful Murray River and all of its water sports, amazing food and wine, Danny. We've got to sample some of that, and the world-renowned golf courses. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, it's time for MX3 Moto number 2.
AMX Superstores are proud to present the 2023 ProMX season, and they're giving away a $1,000 shopping spree every ProMX round. That's 8 chances to win $1,000 to spend on all your favourite gear at AMX. To enter, simply purchase any product at AMX Superstores, either online, in-store, or at the AMX pop-up shop at ProMX. Then scan the QR code and fill out the form to win. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? Rush in now to AMX for your chance to win. AMX Superstores, proudly supporting the 2023 ProMX series.
Superbike racing returns to Queensland Raceway. Be there for round 3 of the 2023 My Bike Motorcycle Insurance Australian Superbike Championship on Saturday the 29th and Sunday the 30th of April. Catch all of Australia's fastest riders go wheel to wheel around the infamous paperclip layout. For event information and to grab your tickets, head to the ASBK website at asbk.com.au. Presented by Motul.
Whatever your passion, ignite it with Autolite.
At this very moment, the rider is protected, but it only takes 0.03 seconds for the sneaker to burst, 0.6 seconds for the jeans to disintegrate. Then, like a human crayon, his flesh is shredded by the coarse bitumen.
AMX Superstores are proud to present the 2023 ProMX season and are giving away a $1,000 shopping spree every ProMX round. That's 8 chances to win $1,000 to spend on all your favourite gear at AMX. To enter, simply purchase any product at AMX Superstores either online, in-store or at the AMX pop-up shop at ProMX. Then scan the QR code and fill out the form to win. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? Rush in now to AMX for your chance to win. AMX Superstores proudly supporting the 2023 ProMX series.
Is that it?
Yep, I think that's everything.
Whether you're heading off past Bonnie Doon,
It's nothing like getting back to nature.
rounding up the girls on the farm,
Come on, girl. Come back here.
exploring waterways with mates,
Bags diving.
working on your dream approach,
Now just gently press down the accelerator.
Gotcha.
kick-starting your motorcycle obsession, living your wildest adventure, racing each other through single track,
Oi, Dad. What's for dinner?
or bringing that trophy catch back for the crew.
Hey guys, hope you're hungry.
There's no better feeling than sharing it with mates on a Yamaha. United by Yamaha.
Dean Ferris P3 in qualifying. It was obviously too wet to have the pole shootout. So tell us about your strategy going into this race.
Oh, look, just got to draw on all the experience I have in the mud from years and years of my childhood. Make sure I get a clean start and just keep it tidy for the race. You know what I mean? It's going to be, the first motor is going to be really long. Clean start, keep it clean the whole race. I don't know. Look for lines. Just you can see it's a quagmire out there. So just maybe, I don't know. Just be clever. I think.
Great. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
And in P2 on the start line, Jed Beaton, tell us, you've had a lot of experience obviously overseas. What do you think about this track? What do you think about these conditions?
Yeah, I mean, the conditions are the same for everyone. Today's just going to be about getting a good start, staying upright, and riding a clean race. I think we've all got the same game plan, really. You can't really do much about these conditions, just ride to the best of your ability and, like I said, get off to a good start and then try stay clean.
Excellent. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
And Kyle, in P1, congratulations. I think gate choice here is going to be really important. So we've got your check somewhere. AMX Superstores check is coming right behind us here. Congratulations for pole position, as we did not have Super Pole, but you should be really happy with that result. I think it's going to be pretty treacherous out there. What is the strategy? And a bit of redemption for last round.
Yeah, it's horrible out there. So, like Jed said, it's going to be the same for everybody. Good start, clean race, and just try and stay upright. But no, happy to come away with first in qualifying. It sucks there's no Super Pole, but I'm glad I got a good lap in today, earlier. And I think it's just going to be back at about the start.
Important championship points for you, hopefully. Good luck out there, Kyle Webster.
Thank you.
Well, it is certainly setting up to be a fantastic day of racing with these guys. As I said, it's just about survival. But one guy that we didn't see there in those top three is, of course, Aaron Tanti. And Lee got a chance to catch up with him a little bit earlier.
We're here with reigning champion, not only carrying the #1 plate, but also got that red background here at Wodonga, Aaron Tanti. Aaron, I want you to turn the clock back 12 months for me, and I want you to talk me through how you feel, how your mindset is going into this race compared to how you felt 12 months ago.
Yeah, I guess if we wind it back 12 months roughly, this was round 3 last year, I believe, and I didn't have the best round here last year, and just a few incidents with other riders and stuff. Still ended up on the podium and walked out of here probably second in the championship. But yeah, the mindset's obviously a lot different this year. I've had a really good year last year, and I proved to myself and everyone else that I'm a serious contender week in, week out. I was consistent. I was always in that top 3, and started the year again the same. And I just have that little bit of extra confidence, in myself, the team that I rode for the first time last year, and you sort of just learn what they're all about.
Riding for the CDR Monster Energy Yamaha team, and the pressure that comes along from that. Not so much Dakar putting pressure on you, but the implied pressure that you have on, and also the pressure you put on yourself to perform. That can sometimes sink the battleship with certain people, but for you, it's been incredible to watch the rise. How have you found riding for the team like that?
It just comes with the expectation that, you're on this team to win. And like you said, I've gelled really well with that pressure. They've given me the equipment and the surroundings and everything that I need to win, and I gave that to them, and I'm going to try and keep doing that for them.
We've got a lot of hard pack rounds, and we finish up in Queensland. As you assess Dino as quite possibly your main competitor at the moment, how do you see the rest of these tracks and how it unfolds and the strengths between you two?
For me, it's just same thing as last year. I'm going to be consistent. Dean sometimes makes them mistakes, and he's been caught out doing them, and we've sort of worked out a little bit what we need to do. So I'm pretty level-headed. Like, I don't really get distracted when someone's behind me sticking their nose in and stuff like that. I just tend to ride my own race, and that's the main goal for the rest of the season, is just to be up there and be consistent like I was last year as well.
Well, fantastic start to the season, Aaron. All the best for here at round 3 at Wodonga.
I don't love new things. I've never been one to change for change's sake, unless of course they're better. The equipment we use for a reason. We've been growing grapes on this property for over 60 years. It all started with my dad's dad. When we buy anything new around here, we want what we know works. The new Kawasaki Stockman is a good thing made even better.
Welcome back to the Penrite Oils ProMX Championships, brought to you by AMX Superstores. We are at a very wet and muddy Wodonga circuit. Let's take a look at the Maxxis Tyres lineup for MX3 Moto number 1. And some super fast times that we're seeing at the top of the table here from Byron Dennis, Jake Cannon, Deacon Pace, Liam Owens.
Seth Birchall, Frederick Taylor also topped the list there early on. Jack Byrne, Jack Mather, Seth Shackleton and Campbell Williams also was up there as well. Now these guys had 2 separate qualifying sessions, so it is a mix of the 2 qualifying sessions. Their times, of course, were different because the track was completely different between those qualifying sessions. So they are now on a level playing field. We are going to see who will be the fastest out of those riders that were up the top of that list.
Yeah, Ryan King, we see there 23rd fastest, and Angus Pearce, Oscar Kimber, number of names down there. Connor Towell, very surprisingly back there, 33rd fastest. He actually took off very fast at the head of the pack in Group 1 of the qualifying, but we are about to see the drop of the gate here. MX3 Moto number 1, who's going to get the whole shots?
Well, the inside seems to be working and it absolutely destroys everyone's vision. There's a couple of bikes down in the first turn, but a nice line around the outside. Seth Shackleton.
Young 14-year-old out of Western Australia. What a jump out of the gate from this young kid.
5:47 there, was it? I think on at 1:47 there in second place. We will wait for these riders to cross over to pick up some of these names and exactly where they are, but great start for Seth.
Yeah, well, Danny, look, we had the conversation over the last couple of rounds, didn't we? It's kind of like Caden Minia when he was 14 and just presented himself at the head of the pack in this MX3 class, and we were kind of like, right, when will we see this kid at the head of the pack for the first time? So a fantastic job, and what a future this kid's got.
Into the left-hander, learning the track on the fly. All of these kids and young riders trying to make their way around lap number 1. And one thing I did notice when we got the shot just a second ago was just how spread out everyone was in this first part. as if a lot of riders have gone down in the first couple of turns that we actually didn't see. So back there in the background, look how stacked they are together there. So I think we may have had a couple of big tangles and brought a lot of the riders down to see the 410 machine, who we do expect to see up front. Oh, Seth is down to the outside, the yellow flag's flying. So, bad start as we look at the Matrix Whole Shot Award going to Frederick Taylor on the 147. Up and over the tabletop is Cannon as we see finally some sunshine, Lee, that is blazing through here. And hopefully this is a sign of things to come and possibly start to dry out a few more lines so we get a bit more of a raceable track.
Yeah, now let's just quickly make mention of Seth then and the confidence that's built from a start like that. The first time you do it, you could almost see his eyes bulging out of his head, just going, what do I do with this lead here? And that's the kind of thing that you've got to take and run with. And the next time it happens, you settle down a little bit. But hey, who can be expected to settle down too much in these kind of conditions? But we're seeing a very familiar name at the head of the pack, Jake Cannon, who was so fast in time qualifying.
Yeah, well, Cannon was very fast at round number 1 that we didn't quite get to see how things would pan out there. And then, unfortunately, at Appen, he was absent due to a small injury. So great to see him back out there. But a couple of other names that looking on screen right now we are familiar with. That is Jack Mather on the 43, just making the pass on last round's winner of Kai Woods, the number 10 machine. So 1 lap down, starting to try and work out the best lines now over the next couple of laps that are going to work and get them through to the end of this moto.
Hanging off the back of that bike is Jack Mather, and we know he enjoys being up at the head of the pack and has so many skills. Let's take a little bit of a look here at our Honda replay.
It just slid around the outside there. It was a bit loose going up the up ramp, but manages to make that pass. So moves himself in to 3rd place, I believe that is, and just in front of him is Frederick Taylor. Now, both you and I said Frederick Taylor, we hadn't seen that name up there too much.
We see the yellow flag waving. Is that one of our leaders or is that a lapped rider? Try to pick up these different riders as they're coming through.
But yeah, Frederick Taylor also qualified very well. There he is there, the 147 machine on the gas. Makes his way through that left-hander, just leaning off the back there. You can just see how slow the bike is. Oh, is that Mather, I think, has gone down in the background. He was right there. And that was Byron Dennis, I think. There is Campbell Williams on the Kawasaki. So all of our big-name riders, a lot of our big-name riders are having a lot of difficulty. There is Mather. Yep,
almost
so that's
like
the one I saw in the background.
Like he's stuck, just trying to get that thing up and go. No, it's going, and he just needs to get it up and moving at the moment. But a mammoth amount of riders has come past Jack Mather so far. So it will be interesting to pick up where he drops himself back into that leaderboard. At the moment, we've got Jake Cannon from Frederick Taylor back into Kai Woods, who was the star player at round 2 at Appen, who, what a fantastic ride he put on, didn't he?
Yeah, fantastic effort. See the 38
Hayden Strode.
Yep, he was just in there grabbing some new goggles. Quite a smart move early on in the race to go and get that. I think that looks like possibly Byron Dennis on screen. No, that's Kai Woods, still the number 10 machine. There is
Seth Shackleton.
Yep, so he's still there.
Woods has had a little bit of an issue going back to 8th place. We didn't really see what happened there.
No, so we haven't caught that one. Just looking at the leaderboard on the left, Liam Owens there in 3rd place. Now, he was another rider that was very quick in the qualifying session, so expect to see him stay up there and potentially close down a little bit on Taylor, just there 1.4 seconds in front of him.
Now, if we can just get a little bit of sunshine and this rain to stop, Danny, you'll get little individual lines that'll start to form that dry up enough to start to get a little bit of traction to them, so that it'll be so much easier on these bikes. Seth Shackleton once again after his early lead there, holding for the first lap and an exit stage left in that corner. It was a dream run for him at the start, but he's looking reasonably comfortable, Danny.
Yeah, it's as we said, it's tough conditions for all, so just to get out there and push through these conditions, try and make it through to the end and do it with as minimal amount of mistakes as possible is the key to this one. As we see, only 8 minutes left on the the clock there. Is that a shorter race? Or
looks like it has been shortened, I believe. So, because stock standard is 20 minutes plus a lap for MX3, 25 minutes plus a lap for MX2 and MX1.
Yeah, so there's a potential there. We're only speculating. We haven't been informed properly, but it looks like it potentially, because of how slow this track is and how long it has taken to get a lot of these bikes off the track, especially after the race, that they may be trying to catch up a little bit of time. But either way, I know the riders themselves will be pretty pumped with that. There's no rider that wants to be out in these conditions longer than they need to. So great initiative there, if that is the case. As we see Kai Woods just bouncing off to the side of the track there, and finding some interesting lines up the inside. And I've seen a lot of people doing this, so it's not just one person. Everyone is out there searching for something to try and get themselves around the track. That's what makes it hard also to judge.
Yeah, true. It's a tough call, and I'm glad we don't have to make that decision. So, once again, you commented before on how good of a job our TV crew are of capturing this and keeping on particular riders, especially it might be ones that we're talking about, for example, and they just seem to be able to find them. It can't emphasise how difficult a task it is out there for everyone involved, riders, mechanics, all the TV crew, all the officials, the track workers, everyone.
Well, I'm sure our officials and the volunteers, the flag marshals, will be very happy to see that rain has finally gone. As we see another one of these Yamaha riders with that peak that has gone. We'll have to try and pick up who that was. Is that our race leader right there, the 410 machine of Cannon coming around?
He's doing it easy. 24-second lead, Danny is flying.
Yeah, he is really killing it at the moment. What's all that times at 234, 228?
I think it's kind of interesting to note. You see similarities here in the way that he's riding compared to Brodie Connolly. He's just getting that weight off the back of the bike, but really agile side to side in that upper body.
Well, just sliding off the edge.
And I like that. My bad, hand up, and he got back on as quick as he could.
Yeah.
So absolutely no harm, no foul there.
Yeah, and this is going to continue to happen all the way. You see that bike just bogging down in that mud part. That's probably the worst part of the track, I think, Lee, for these bikes.
Yeah, it's so tough out there. And once again, for our viewers at home that are just wrapping their head around the sport of motocross, just a little bit of an explanation to this MX3 category and just how incredible it is and what it does in presenting our older to junior age brackets, our 14 and 15-year-olds, and then, of course, our younger to senior bracket, so 16 and 17 years of age. So really, really good opportunity here for some of our juniors, and you can't get much better. The yellow numbers on this young kid's bike here, Jake Cannon, the yellow numbers means you're a junior, and have a look at him. He's looking like he's riding like a seasoned veteran at the moment.
Around to do another lap, only 5 minutes left in this race, and you can see from this great shot up on top. I'll have a look at the right of screen here. You can see something flying behind that rider. Now that is a roll-off. The riders have a different system on their goggles to try and keep their vision clear, and that streamer was a roll-off that's broken off and unfortunately no longer.
Oh, Seth, is that the same corner where he went off? And that's a long way down there. Keep your momentum up, baby. You do need to try to get out of the gully.
Yeah, so it's not the place you want to be, down in there. No. We walked through there yesterday. I thought we were going to get stuck getting through there. But our bikes just flapping their way through. Oh, another rider down just in front of that rider. He had to go off track just to avoid that one. And I think that's our race leader there still. Yes, it is. So difficult to see with these numbers.
Yeah, the back of the jersey always seems to tell the story, doesn't it? But bike, side plates, front number plates, so difficult. I guess you can kind of tell from the intensity and the speed that this kid is going. So it looks great, and it gets to this point in the race we can see yellow flags waving, where he needs to be careful that you don't come together with a lap rider, because if you can imagine the race leaders can't stay in the right line, how hard is it for the lap riders? They have no idea where they're going.
Through the wood section, that certainly will not dry up today, even if the sun does come out. and into the rollers that have turned into an absolute slosh pit through there. But doing an exceptional job is our race leader, of course, Cannon 410. It was a shame that we didn't get to see him there at Appen. I feel that he is certainly a rider that is in contention for the championship if he can keep going, but to drop those points there at Appen, it could hurt that chase for the top spots. Hopefully he can claw back, and especially with a ride like this, he is certainly going to claw back a lot of points in that championship. As we look down the Maxxis Tyre MX3 leaderboard there on the left-hand side, Cannon, Liam Owens, Taylor still holds down third place. A great ride there. Mather, Woods, Dennis, Byron Dennis, he was back just a little bit further. Rowe, Olander, Shackleton, Pace, Ribbons, who else is there? Townsend, Hantis, Lindsay, and Birchall.
Yeah, so great job for anyone to be sneaking up inside that top 10 there, doing a great job in such treacherous conditions. 3 minutes on the clock here for Moto 1 of the Maxxis Tyres MX3 class, and have a look at the smoke coming off that bike there, and that is Jack Mather, as he has another little exit off the left-hand part of the track, and look at the depth of the mud down there.
Yeah, it's the narrative of the day. Survival of these bikes is key to picking up those points at end of Moto. The rider trying very hard.
Trying their best to get back onto the track. You've got to give them credit for giving it a go, and that's Callum Dice there, number 233.
Take another look at the replay just here up in the top left. It looks
number
like
7.
Travis Lindsay, I think that one was, just going down again, getting caught out by these ruts. It's so hard to see when they're in these kind of conditions.
Have a look at the drone shot.
Look at the zigzags there through that part.
What a mess, and the water accumulated on the far left side there, and that of course is just prior to turn number 2 where the mechanics area is. So you couldn't really get much more in the way of mud right near where the mechanics are, and they have to put the pit boards out. So yellow flag waving, and I just noticed Jack Mather has moved up a spot to third place, but over a minute lead now for our race leader, who is literally in a league of his own, Jake Cannon. I'm sure his older sister, Charlie Cannon, who put on a fantastic race at last weekend's round of the Women's World Motocross Championship. I believe she got a 4th in Moto 1.
A 4 and 8 for
and 5th overall. Yep. So close to her first podium that is no doubt coming. But I reckon she'll be watching here very, very closely, and very proud of her young brother.
Through Max's turn just there towards this tabletop, and looking at the lap times, Lee, he's only dropped 3 seconds from his fastest lap time that was done on lap number 2, which is an exceptional effort. Now, I feel I didn't pay attention too much in MX2, I haven't taken full note, but these times that he is running is well and truly up there with the MX2. Well and truly.
He is putting an absolute clinic on at the moment in this particular class, and once again, you know, I don't want to say it too many times, a junior, not turned senior yet, so he just purely, not only from an age perspective, but from an experience perspective of riding these kind of tracks, he just hasn't had those years under his belt. So that just goes to show the future and the prodigy that we've got on our hands here with Jake Cannon.
Through the right hand, 19 seconds to go in this one. That is actually Seth Chaplin there, who was about to get a lap put down on him after a couple of off-track excursions. So a result. Oh no, Cannon's just gone down, just in the left hand. I mean, he's got a minute 15. He can take a nap if he wants in that corner. He doesn't have to rush it. However, he is a little bit tangled up at the moment.
Needs to untangle himself in the banners, and that can easily go bad.
Well, he's just moving now, so he's probably going to lose about 20 seconds. Nothing in the big picture of things with the amount of a lead he did have. He certainly will get the last lap board around this time. I was about to say 10 seconds to go. It surely is going to run out. Maybe he thought it was a little closer and just needed to waste a bit of time to make sure he got it.
We just mentioned Seth a second ago about to be put a lap down. It's interesting to note he's still in 9th place in the top 10. So we've got Jake Cannon, who has lapped all the way up to Seth in 9th place.
Great ride there as he works his way around the final lap of this moto. He will be pumped to see the checkered flag. I'm sure he's very pumped already to see the last lap board. Just gets a little bit sideways going into that part of the track, so a quick excursion off the side. Again, the colour of those pipes just show how much heat is coming out of them. Oh, knack through the corner. Another one.
Bring it home, buddy. We're at the closing stages here. You've done all the hard work. 15 minutes plus a lap. You have well and truly logged in those 15 minutes. And we're just getting to these close stages here. It's
he's off the side.
Oh, and how far down is it?
We know just there. That goes down to the creek on that left-hand side. So very lucky not to get forced down.
He's got some of the creek there in the side of the motor now. He's just dodging bullets here on this final lap. And another one, I believe that the track is getting tougher.
Yes, no doubt. It is certainly becoming a track that is going to challenge these riders all day long. And you cannot take your mind off the job at hand at any moment through here. You cannot think about the checkered flag that's just only half a lap away. He's got to think about every single piece of the track and making sure that he stays on line to where he needs to be. Quick look over the shoulder. Yep, you have a monstrous lead, buddy. Keep it on moving. You're all good.
Even after getting caught up in the banner and just strategically stripping it out from the bike and getting going again, he still has close to a minute lead over Jack Mather. Frederick Taylor holding on to that third place there.
More riders down in the mud holes that are formed all the way around here as we go into the Pirelli turn for the final time of this Maxxis MX3 Moto number 1. It is going to be Jake Cannon, by the looks of it, that will clinch this one, take maximum points and try and start to creep back the points deficit that he has in this championship, and he will do very well at it. The biggest scorer out of this one will be Mather in second place there. He will pick up some very valuable points in this championship.
Yeah, an incredible come from behind ride, and what we saw on screen for him just looked disastrous. You would almost think that he's back in 10th place. However, he just must have been stringing together some very nice laps. But it's been all about this kid here, and I mean kid. Jake Cannon, number 410 on the Yamaha machine, comes through the final corner, and he will come through to take victory. And what a win. He must be over the moon with that, as will his team manager, mechanic, everyone in their crew. And that looks to be, that's Kai Woods. He's, yeah, I'm not sure if the bike's going. It's okay. Now we've just noticed here a timing alert. We've got Kai Woods 1 position penalty for cutting the track. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see how he handles that. But he's just trying to make his way through. Bike smoking, the wheels are still circulating, which is a positive thing.
As we see the final of our riders coming across the line, it should be Mather, possibly right there, actually coming up and over. It looks like he's still a rather tall rider, so comes across in second place right there for Mather.
All smiles for Jake Cannon, and why wouldn't you be after a win like that? I think those last couple of laps would have been rather tough for him. I could sense his anticipation of, come on, checkered flag, I can feel you coming, I just want to get there. Using
sliding all over the place.
Wow, and it's kind of like Mario Kart there. There was.
Oh, look at the rider screen. Top.
Yeah,
as we look at the MX3 results, Maxxis Tyres MX3, of course, Jake Cannon, Jack Mather, Frederick Taylor, fantastic effort there in third place. Byron Dennis got himself up into fourth. Kai Woods back to fifth. Of course, we did see that penalty. We'll see if that's already observed or not. Travis Olander, Cooper Rowe, Liam Owen, Seth Shackleton back there in ninth. Great ride. And also Deacon Pace, top 10.
Yeah, fantastic job from everyone involved there in the top 10. Kobe Hantis just outside of the top 10 there in 11th. Campbell Williams, Seth Birchall, Logan Denise, Kobe Drew there in 15th, and Bale and Townsend down there in 16th.
So a great start for the day for these guys. Of course, they're going to have to come back out and do it all again. I was just mentioning their top rider screen. It looks like we might be getting another visit by the rain. Unfortunately, it looked like the sun was coming out. We could turn into something, but it's going to be a tough day all day long. But let's head down to Kate, who has our winner.
Jake Cannon, your first win in MX3, a dominant performance in treacherous conditions. How was it out there?
It's tough, you know. I didn't want to fall over because I knew you'd get mud everywhere and it'd just make it 10 times harder. So I just tried staying consistent and then, yeah.
Well, there's still one more moto strategy going into the next.
Not fall over, I'm just get a good start and then just hit my marks.
Okay, well done.
Thank you.
Wow, what a fantastic job there from Jake Cannon, and the face said it all. He sounds relatively composed and confident. I expect to see more of the same for him going into Moto 2. Let's take a look at the Honda highlights, and what a start it was the young 14-year-old from Western Australia. Number 65 comes around the outside, has a little bit of a look up, and it would be his time to shine for a little bit. It was a few mistakes.
Oh, Byron Dennis, we didn't catch that one earlier, so he went down early on in this race. So to get back to where he was, a great effort. There was a pass by Mather past Woods in that one. And Woods would be finding some new lines. The 100 machine also there, off to the side, as was quite common with a lot of these. Cannon doing his best as well at Shackleton to try and stay on. But so these guys really had to work for it to try and get the moto complete. But no one was going to see where Cannon went. There was Mather. We thought the bike might have been in some issues. However, we've seen that and said that already today a couple of times. And the bikes are stronger than we think, Lee. They are surviving, which is great to see.
And a little exit off to the left there for Jake Cannon. There was a few little issues that he had in that final lap. It really was survival, just trying to make it through, but there's no way he was going to let go of it, and he managed to hold on. And there we see Kai Woods, and he wouldn't have known as of yet that he's got that one position penalty. He was just trying to pick that bike up and get that bike up and going and across the finish line. And an ecstatic Jake Cannon. What an amazing job.
Fantastic to see you get a result that way. We've seen how quick he is, and he's truly deserving of that position.
Have a look at that track down there. Well, Victoria has got it all, no matter what your favourite pastime is. With some of the most amazing wineries and secluded camping spots, Victoria has it all. It's time for a quick break. When we return, it's time for MX 85s.
100% Aussie company pride themselves on their commitment to all forms of motorsport in Australia, from the very grassroots to competing and succeeding at the highest level. It's always been a big part of their DNA. And this real-world testbed for their products ensures the lubricants and fluids you buy for your vehicle have benefited from the development of being punished in a way that only competition can. Penrite. It competes, you win.
Welcome back to the Penrite Oils ProMX Championships, brought to you by AMX Superstores. Take a look at that track. We have just seen some fantastic racing. Danny Ham now, I believe, our next 85cc category. They're about to go out on the track. It's going to be super tough for these guys.
Yeah, well, it looks like they might have, maybe not lining up just there at the moment, but what a day it's been for them so far. They'll be definitely keen to get back out there later on today.
Yeah, gotcha. But the absolute crazy weather that we have seen overnight has created havoc with the track. Now, just wanted to quickly take this opportunity. This event proudly supported by the Wodonga City Council. Can't thank those guys enough for their support, and presented by the Victorian Government. All the Victorian tourism features that we've seen, it's been amazing. So it's been a good morning. We've had some interesting calling with a very, very muddy track and some fantastic, well-earned and deserved winners out there. So on that note, on behalf of myself, Danny Ham and Kate Peck and the rest of us here, I'd like to thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for your time.